Yeah. Good night and welcome to Mindful Life 225. Thank you for being here. We are live on a Thursday, and on a Thursday, as you may know, it's Thursday Talks, where it's not necessarily any one topic, even though there are topics to talk about. There isn't any necessarily one topic. We're here to discuss what the chat wants to discuss. What those in the chat bring up is what we would be discussing. So, if you have something to talk about, feel free to jump in the discussion live over there on TikTok, or you can ask a question, make a comment over there in the chat. We're streaming live on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube. Be sure whether you're looking at this on Instagram or TikTok, after the live is done, you can head over to YouTube and be sure to subscribe to my channel, Nathan Spring, over there on YouTube. You can catch the lives on repeat. If you miss anything in the live, go back there. We are on live 225, so you can kind of guess how many other lives there are over there you could take in. And there are other videos. I've been a little slack with the normal YouTube videos lately. I was busy, but we're getting back there. Don't worry. All right, Barney Rubble over there on TikTok already inside of the live, ready to talk. What's going on?
Good night, Mr. Springer. Good night, and good night to the audience too.
Good night, bro.
So I felt compelled to come on to the live this afternoon because I know you are one of the spearheaders of sensibility in Trinidad now, right? And I think right now we're going through a different type of pandemic in Trinidad. One where people are so desperate financially that they're willing to join any cause that they think would bring them out of the financial burden they're going through. And because of that, there are a lot of people coming up with different things, in open and close inverted commas, cons, right, that basically threatening and it's usually people who in desperate situations is really kind of partake in those type of things.
You're talking about Forex?
And I clear Forex is one, crypto, and I don't want to call names on the live, but at the end of the day, it have a lot, especially on TikTok, right? Now, the first of which would have been the DSS, and we know how that fleshed out, right? So my point this evening is that we really need probably an organization or a body or something, even if it's somebody not an organization in the government, but somebody probably like yourself, or someone who has that cognitive ability to really look at something and evaluate it objectively, to kind of look at the things that it have right now and provide some kind of reasonable assessment. To provide some kind of reasonable assessment, to kind of help all the people who may not be able to do the same and kind of protect them from going in and getting the hard-earned money now. So I think that right now we have a lot of them coming up, and I seen them, and it's just real hurtful to see people investing the money. Some of them asking for monthly contributions, and that's real unfair.
Yeah.
You understand? So I think, and the responsibility relies on people like yourself and whoever could. Now, I'm not trying to put you under pressure, but basically people who could look at it and evaluate it and say, hey, this credible or not credible, to kind of help the people. Now, I think we really need something like that in Trinidad.
Yes, Richard, you're right. The Forex itself is not a scam. Forex is just foreign exchange, but Forex in short, because that's how they introduce that whole market business. And you're right. But we do have an organization. There's an organization that regularly warns about this. What is their name? They're on Twitter. They regularly post on Twitter and they warn about those scams and financial scams and all of that. The problem is that their education doesn't reach out. Their education doesn't reach out as widely. And the thing is, the reality is, the nature of scammers is they're good at what they do. The way how scammers will not get through is not really law enforcement, is people have to become more rigid to scams. Like, at some point in time, I remember there was this old show about, I can't remember what the name of the show was, but it was a set of con men. And Nemesis, and some people in the intro to it, they were talking about, the con men were talking about, the reality is you can't con an honest person. They only con people who want to get something for nothing. And I know you're talking about people who are desperate and etc. And there are some people in those roles. But I think in Trinidad and Tobago, the kind of education that there is in Trinidad and Tobago, the vast majority of Trinis already know that if something looks too good to be true, very likely it's a shady deal going on. The problem is that Trinis are trickies. There are too many tricky daddians in Trinidad that are attempting to get something for nothing. And when you attempt to do that, you think you're the smartest person in the world, but they are Nigerian princes and etc. who are smarter than you. I think a majority of the problem is the something for nothing culture. If people are attempting to do work, a lot of these things look obviously scamish. I remember one of the early ones was the Organo Gold coffee. And I remember someone invited me back in university days, and they invited me to a meeting, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. What's going to go on? What's going to go on in this meeting? I'm there and I'm listening, and I'm like, okay, all right. So wait. I am supposed to make money selling this product. At the end of the day, that's how business works. The way I would make money is selling this product. I don't even have a market for this product yet, but your grand idea is to make me buy bulk of the product at the offset. No. That's just not good business.
Well, Nathan, you know the thing about it is you might have the ability to assess it, but because mostly you are a very intelligent person, but I'm telling you, it have a lot of people, getting caught up in the trap now. And I heard what I saw some of the comments what your audience made there, like the TTSEC, right? But I think instead of just pumping out general information, they could also do individual things now. So like the look at one. They say, well, okay, I give this a green stamp, or this one, I don't think you should go into it. Something like that now,
And I agree. Some of it is intelligence, yes. But what I'm saying is, I don't think you need to be very smart, because there are simple-minded people that will never get caught in a scam, because they understand that how I earn is through work. If I want to earn, I work. If someone comes to me and tells me that I won a competition that I'm going to win $1 million, but I didn't apply to a competition, I don't need to be a genius to figure that out. I think some stronger honesty would make you a lot more rigid to the scams. To be very honest with you, I think a lot of people who get scammed are looking for something to nothing. I remember the DSS, and I've had some conversations with Priest, just by the way. So I've heard some stuff inside of that. But I remember when DSS was at its height, there were many people out there showing obviously the math to this flowers thing is not mathsing. The math's not mathsing. And people knew the maths was not mathsing. They were attempting to get the something for nothing. And then many of those same people were complaining after that they lost. It's not just that you lost because it was a scam. Yes, it was a scam, but you knowingly involved yourself in the scam. It's just so many people think that they're going to be the ones to win the scam. I think personally, I said this in 2 lives ago. Last live I started off with this 2 lives ago, where 2 men went to Lavantil Road to attempt to buy a car and got robbed, obviously. And the reason that happened, I don't think those 2 men don't know what Lavantil is. They went with 11,000 something. I think the deal sounded too good to be true. So, they sound like maybe there's a little shady deal. It might be a little hot car. We might get a little something. And when you think you're going to get something for nothing is when you're going to get scammed.
I agree. Yeah. Well, I just want to say one thing before, right? Well, first of all, thanks for allowing me to join the live. So I'm gonna come off now to allow others to make contributions and get people to talk other things. But I just wanted to say thanks very much for the opportunity to talk on the live tonight.
Yeah, man. Not a problem.
You're so right. I was going to mention to talk about when you take the words out of my mouth. When you apply, somebody called you from Nigeria, England, Europe, wherever, and tell you, you win X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars in a competition. You know you never apply for no competition. They ain't apply for nobody in this country. They don't know anyone in this country. They don't know thing, but you just want to fork out your $10,000 now that you had to put for them to send you money for you. You understand?
Yes. Yeah,
Situation. I don't understand how you in this day and age with all the crime that are being talked about on the Beyond the Tape, on DNL, with all the things being talked about, you would still go to buy a car with $11,000 cash. You look to get robbed, but the scenario that you're presenting there is so true when you speak about wanting something for nothing. You have to be mad.
Yes. Yeah, nah.
I don't even feel sorry for these people.
Here how I know some of it is wanting something. There are other realms that I'm going to talk about just now, but some of it is most of it is the wanting something for nothing. There are people who message like my mother, but you would make a mistake to message my mother with that. My mother isn't even forwarding the message to me. My mother come in with her phone and show one of her sons because she know her sons know stuff. What is this? This is not looking right. Because she isn't a technologically savvy person as some of the modern people might be. So instead of somebody look to catch her in something, hear what? Let me ask the people who know. It's that simple. It's just, I've known some mothers, on the other hand, there are some mothers who spend $15,000, 20, 30 without the children knowing. And they hide behind the children's back to spend that money and get conned doing it. Why did they hide doing it? Why were they hiding? Because they knew it was a little shady kind of move going on in the first place. No, that's the something for nothing side. I think there is a side where old, lonely people are particularly vulnerable. Because there are certain things that, like Barney Rubble was talking about there, they, I think, would especially fall into the category where there are certain things they may not as easily understand. And the kind of cons I've heard with that kind of old lonely person is
cons, they call it.
The what, roping?
The romance cons.
Right. And not all are romance, you know. Some are platonic friends, but they know that you're looking for somebody to, you know, talk to regularly. So they come and they talk to you. They're talking to you for a month. Nothing about money. Nothing. They're telling you about their life situation, and this woman talking, like, I know the situation for sure. I'm just not going to call people. But like a 40-something-year-old woman talking to a pensioner, 70s, and they're talking for a month or so, and she talking about her family and her children, and then things get hard. And she asks him for a small thing borrow. And then a next small thing borrow. And then a next small... And by the time...
But they know how men will like to help.
Yep. And by the time the pensioner's child catch on to it, hundreds of thousands of dollars gone. Those things happen. And those people, I wouldn't blame some of those people with the wanting something for nothing, because a lot of the times it's not that they wanted something. They were genuinely drawn in thinking this person was upright and this was their friend, etc., etc. And I think some of that might be the consequence of the kind of atomization we have in society, where really and truly, old people are not supposed to age by themselves. That's not how humans are supposed to go down in age, because just as children and babies are vulnerable, you know, they say once a man, twice a child kind of thing. Old people are not supposed to go down in age alone and by themselves. That's not supposed to happen. But more and more we are having lonely old people, and I think the more lonely old people and bitter, selfish young people you have out there, you're going to get much more of that situation happening too. Check out Connect 88. Connect 88 as in, what is that, a profile on TikTok or page or something? I'm not sure. But yeah, It's Thursday, so you know we're talking on a Thursday. Any comments or questions? Right now we're talking about the cons that seem to be very prevalent around Trinidad, and you know it seems like it goes together. A lot of Trinis are said to be con people, and it seems like a lot of Trinis get con too. Just it's part and participle of each other. It's all a package deal because you're so willing to con people, you get caught in a lot of cons too. I don't think it's surprising. I don't think those two things are coincidental. Good night, Tony the Ambassador. What's good, bro? What is good? See what they're promising. You'll be surprised. If they're promising too like that's the secret right there. If they're promising too good, you're already halfway already know that something is wrong. Let's think about reality.
That's the top two, you know.
What's that?
Some of the top two. You remember? Let me give you some examples. You remember? We're going to build a tunnel from Tunapuna to Maracas. You remember? We're going to widen Rice Road. You understand?
Yeah.
It starts and hundreds of people stand up and listen to that foolishness and clap and blow shell and chant for. And when you hear, when people articulate that kind of garbage that you know cannot happen, and we care for that and we support that and we dip your finger for that and we vote for that. And when it doesn't thing,
so
we're a culture that like to be conned. We like to hear bullshit. We bullshit and we eating it up.
I see. So what you're saying is that the gullibility to being conned comes from the political level in Trinidad and Tobago.
It comes from that level all the way down. Not just it doesn't come from that alone, but it comes from that level all the way down.
Nice. I got you. Oh, by the way, if the man is listening, big up to the father of the God and Emergency Branch guy over there by the Prime Minister's office. I got an emergency branch guy saw me and he say, hey, my father listened to your content every day. That man always harassing me about your content and always sending me. So if his father listening, big up same way. Yeah, positive. What going on?
Sorry about that, I went on a sabbatical. I have been always saying this. We have a population where we like to be full and the politicians will give us what we want. If we demand reasonable ideas, we gonna get it from them. But we like the nice pie in the sky, we like the freeness culture. Yes, I'm gonna give you free housing. I'm gonna give you free this and free that, and you know it's not logical, you know it's not making sense. But you're voting for it, and then we like the underhand corrupt culture. So if I sleep with the minister's son, daughter, cousin, auntie, who living in New York City, I might get a free house. So me ain't care what going with nobody else. Once he give me the free house, I good and I voting for he. So I think the reality is that's where the problem lies. We as the population, as I say, the idea that two pie in the sky, you need to break that down for me. Explain that some more. Stop using big words there. Like something transcendental that a police commissioner is using Tobago. Them kind of things where I tell them, break it down for me.
You're positive. You're right, you know. You are right. And that is, if I have to try to put an explanation to what I try to do nearly every night on the live, that is a lot of what I try to do. Where we try to break down things that you hear, things that are issues out there, break it down to try and make sense of it. When someone tells you XYZ, let's look into the XYZ and see if this makes sense now. Look at it so that you're not just taking everything at face value. Let's look a little deeper. Exactly, Sasha says exactly, they give us what we want. It don't start with them, it starts with us. Good night, brothers and sisters. Good night. Look at you. Cardell says the average person will be very comfortable when you tell them what they want to hear. That's very true. Trini Hotep says they really give us what we feel we want to sedate us.
Let me say next thing I'm hearing now. I heard from Kamala Prasad Bissessa is that if they get into power, they're going to start to give out guns so that people can protect themselves.
Yes.
You understand? They feed on the desires and promise you what they feel they want, and until they get in power, then when they get in power, here the talk they're going to hear. Well, we don't control the politician doesn't control the commissioner, so it's up to him. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
And if the right thinking people could assess from now what she's saying she cannot do because the commissioner, the government doesn't control the police. You understand? She's articulating that she could actually control the police.
Well, there are several parts to that. When she said that, and we brought that up in the discussion, I already highlighted there are different parts. Maybe she's talking legislatively. They're going to attempt to bring some law to the parliament that's going to dictate how firearms are issued by the police. So there could be laws that say a firearm should be issued if someone has the thing, or a firearm must be issued if someone meets it. Just simple words like when you look at laws in the United States, because they have variances of those firearm laws, you could look at it and see shades of differences. So maybe she's talking legislative, but we have to get that definitionally down. What is she talking about exactly? And that's exactly the point I'm making. Don't take it at surface value. So, okay, you're saying we're going to get more firearms. How are you going to do it? Now, you're saying they can't control the police. By the way, that has already been proven to not really be true. Because there was a certain police commissioner that a certain political leader didn't like. And apparently that certain political leader could have gotten rid of that certain commissioner and make sure that he wasn't able to be placed there again. So as to if the government has control of the commissioner and the police, let's be honest about it here.
Of course.
I want to ask a controversial question. No screenshotting, please. But compare the Rising Sun to the Balize. Which cabinet usually has more lawyers?
Has more?
And out of our political lawyers. And let's check our political history. Which organization has more lawyers that following the meeting office tend to strive off of beating the state in the courts?
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
Yes.
So when we hear these types of statements coming from an organization predominantly by lawyers that strive off of being in office, making flawed legislation, and out of office using the same flawed legislation to become millionaires, as the general population, however we should think and analyze some of these information.
Go ahead. You finished?
What I'm also considering, listening to some of these types of discussions, is yes, they're going to make these statements, but when they go to the parliament to actually debate these laws and write them on the books, how many citizens pay attention to the details? Because we have heard senators saying that the bill was a blank bill, but it passed. How could you pass a blank bill? How could you say that this is what we're doing, and when we ask for the paperwork, the man on the street do have access to the document, or the average man on the street would not listen to Parliament channel? Let's be real. The media is only going to give you a 30-second clip, and then we're going to go after. But when you look at the whole video, it takes a number of hours of it into context. You get a clever view as to what the intentions are. But the average man on the street, the time when Parliament going on, he in work trying to make $1, or he's stuck in traffic, wasting gas.
Well, that's the job of journalists, really and truly, to distill the most important parts, because I've listened to a few hours of Parliament Channel, and sometimes 3 hours of Parliament Channel could be summarized into 2 sentences. So sometimes it is a legitimate waste of time to take in all of that. But I understand that. Now, as to why they're all lawyers, bear in mind that there is a bit of sensibility to that, because the job of a parliamentarian is to write laws. That's the primary job. When you vote somebody in as a parliamentarian to go to parliament, their primary job is to write and discuss and debate laws, update, scratch out laws.
But Nathan, I thought their primary goal was MPs, member of parliament, representatives. So if
a representative of the people. a representative of the people there to represent the people in making laws. They are a representative of the people, but they represent the people in making laws. They don't represent the people in food, in medicine. They're supposed to represent the people by making laws to govern over those same people. That's what it's about. That's the main focus. So you could understand theoretically why I feel like that may attract lawyers. Now, that's one side. You could also understand that lawyers make money by arguing cases for or against that very same law that the same lawyers get to edit and write while they're in parliament. So yes, I understand what you're saying. Now, to say that the UNC make flawed legislation and then go back and beat it may be a hard one to argue because the UNC hasn't been in power for really long.
I did not make that statement, Nathan. I ensured I was politically correct.
I didn't say you said. I didn't say you said. I said to make this statement. I made a statement that can be made. To make this statement that UNC would put legislation in place flawed so that they can come up and beat it after would be a hard thing to prove because the UNC hasn't been in power for that long. So I could put forward an argument. Listen, UNC need to hire some proper people. They don't even argue properly for themselves. But I could put forward a proper argument to defend that. The UNC has been the party of the opposition for the majority of Trinidad's existence. It would make sense then that if we are the party that is supposed to hold the government's feet to the flame, then we should be a party as accumulating lawyers that could really critique the laws that the government push. And those lawyers, obviously, if we are the party that are there to balance the dictatorial tendencies of the PNM government, then obviously our lawyers would very regularly tackle the government in the court also. So, there is an argument that can be made for a justified reason why so many of their members are lawyers and so regularly they tackle the government in the courts. There's a possible justifiable reason that could be given for that.
I want to ask the next question, though.
Of course.
So, the guy in the bottom, I don't mean to interrupt what's happening here. There's this guy on YouTube, on this same TikTok platform, carries the name of King Lyrical. And one of the questions I often ask is why he's not the individual who we see on the tape. Why that's not the individual? Why we don't have his videos being featured during some of the law enforcement ads?
Hey,
on television?
as you say that just now, I want to say this before I forget. I want to say this. I was surprised by the strongman recently. I don't mean that strongman statement with any offensive connotation, if you ever see that, say. But I was surprised with this whole issue of the where the police, remember we spoke about the Police Welfare Association talking about like they're so hurt that people are mentioning police officers' names and their names are and he brought up the reality that if you are so hurt by just your name being mentioned in this, imagine how other people feel when police charge people and put them in the cell to sit down for 7 days to figure out things. I was like, wow. That shocked me. First time I heard something like that. Go ahead, positive.
Individual. Yeah, but I would often ask why we see why the law enforcement arms not pushing education and our regulations. Because I like to dig up in them kind of things. So when I prefer read a case or read a judgment or read a summary offences act or the road traffic and motor vehicle act and them kind of things. Because I'm of the view once you have the information, you're gonna make better decisions. But you're not putting the information out for the average public. If his videos have to be featured and you pay for 5 minutes, I'm sure the population is going to respond much better to interactions with law enforcement, to intruders and to criminal activities taking place to them themselves.
Are you talking about 47 something? The guy who does
it's not TV driver.
No, he's talking about an actual officer. There's an officer on TikTok that makes
King
videos.
Lyrical is the name he carries. Either Lyrical, King or King Lyrical.
I will look for it, but let me answer that question for you, right? Because I don't know if you pay attention to my sobriquet here. I just frequent Beyond the Tape. And let me answer that question to you in one phrase. Beyond the Tape is a clown show. It's not about informing people. It's not about educating people. It's a clown show. When you take the most illiterate police officer and probably having the whole
The views, the views and opinions expressed, the views and opinions expressed by the callers of the Mindful Live are not the views and opinions necessarily of Nathan Springer. Go on, Nemesis.
And I respect you for saying that. However, when you take the most buffoonish senior superintendent, you know what I like to do? You know what I like to do? I like to see police in khaki and approach them and say, I want to ask a question. How do you feel about Superintendent Alexander being the representative for you in the police service? You know what most of them just do?
Stoops.
Shake their head, laugh, and walk off. They don't even have the decency to answer it. Most of them. The ones that does answer, honestly, I tell you, but I don't know that. But 99% of them just shake their head and walk off because they know.
So then how?
Sure.
How? I don't suppose you will know.
Several police commissioners that has headed the police service, Gary Griffith, Lola Christopher, Joe Jacobs, all of them lead that clown there who cannot read. If you ever hear him read the most wanted, the man name is Joe Scan. He would call Joe. He would call him by your first name. If your name is Canterbury Paul, he would call you Paul. He cannot read.
Positive way you gone.
TV program for 8 years. You had a man hosting a TV program. It's a bloody clown show. Very rarely they would speak about something to educate the population. That show need to be talking to drivers about driving slow on the right-hand side of the road. Why it is dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, these things, but the show is totally misused. The program is just there to promote the police service, to try and defend all the garbage that they do, and to spin whatever we see going on.
I regularly wonder that though. I wonder what is the reason for that choice. Now, I am not talking about the man personally and his ability and his reading prowess and all of that, but like, is that the best choice in the police to be the PR rep? Because that is basically what the de facto role he is filling there. He is a kind of PR rep. Is that the best one? And you know,
I would like to interject.
Just now, right before you say that, I have one more comment to make. Where you were talking about his reading and stuff. I don't like to knock people on their learning ability and thing. Because I understand that as a teacher. I understand the different people there. But I find listening to senior police officers speak very often is...
Let me get a word.
All right. I won't say anymore.
Homicide. I don't know if you ever heard every police commissioner use that word, homicide.
The subject verb conjugations. Like I am not here, and here's my problem. If anyone did, sorry, positive for keep cutting here. If anyone did communication studies in Form 6, I remember they were teaching about the different levels of the dialect that we have. We have the Baselect, the Mesolect, and the Acrolect, where there is a Trini dialect that we speak, but you know there are different levels, so how you mix it with the colloquial words and the standard English words and terms. I would be okay if the police officer comes out and speaks purely colloquial, speaks that Baselect. You talk that, brother. We'll hear what did happen, man. So on. They talk comfortable.
Yes.
That's one. But you see, it's clear you are attempting to talk standard English. That's clear. You are attempting to do it. But failing miserably, I think that does not show good on the senior police staff. Senior police.
Correct.
It's not a junior police.
Correct.
It's senior. My opinion. Positive. What were you saying there?
Yes, let me get back on track as to the references which I was making to Lyrical King. And Mr. Joe, I will address your concern here as well. What I'm saying is the average citizen is not going to download all the laws and read all of the laws PDF. The laws that I have happened to download or to dig into is because I've heard complaints about it. And I went to my own self-investigating. And when I see some of the terms I don't understand, I Google or YouTube or I speak to my friends in the fraternity. But this guy has very good, concise 2 and 3 minute videos. We paint you and ads about all different kind of thing online. Or even on the general media. Why not put these types of small, short clip contents inside of it and begin to have people thinking? He would share a scenario with a fight. And if you using typical Trinbagonian terms, boy, I got box and I got this and I got that and whatever. And then he would literally tell you, come doing X, Y, Z is an offense under chapter whatever act. He will literally pull the act up for you. Read the lines of it. Share it, and then I can't remember, yes, I would just use at the end. I can't remember the term. And then technically what he's saying is using these real life activities, these real life simulations, matching it with the legislation, showing you where you could find the legislation. So if you think you're talking stupidness, you could go and research it. If you understand me, there's a nice way of educating the population. Mindful life, mindful education could probably partner with him.
I spoke to him already, you know. I spoke to him already. We were supposed to have a conversation. I already spoke to him positive. Because they are, you know, I always want to talk to police officers, so yeah.
This is the kind of thing lyrical.
King Lyrical, I was gonna look for him.
This is the type of content we want to see coming from them. When police go to tour the schools, we don't just want to go and tell them, boy, if you fight, I'm going to lock you up and I'm going to put a handcuff on your hand. No, let them know this is the offense you're committing. This is the reason why. So when you see law enforcement going to the schools and arrest a handcuff on them, they can't say they're ignorant of the law.
I agree with you positive, and I think we should get a much stronger culture in Trinidad pertaining to our civics in general. Like, people need to understand how the country functions, and we need to get that more. I've said this before. It feels like I say this nearly every night. I think a lot of that comes from the colonial mindset, where a lot of people still have that kind of colonial mind where we are not the people that run this system. Massa and them is run this system. We just come here to work. We need to work, and Massa go pay we and take care of the road and take care of everything. But we no longer live in that colonial system. We run this. You can't, when you look at how littering goes on in Trinidad and Tobago, you kind of get that feeling. Many people don't have the attitude like they own this. They have to run this. Many people don't yet have that attitude, and I think that's a key part in there to get that feeling and get that responsibility for everything.
Yeah, Nathan, I just came from the Hamptons.
Mm-hmm.
And a Trinidadian guy who lived in there all his life. You know, he went there since 2011, and he challenged me. He said, I want to challenge you to if you see something, show it to me. He said, show me a piece of paper on the ground while we driving around, while he's showing me around. He said, I want you to show me a piece of paper on the ground. And in the 4 days that I was there, I was not able to show this man a chewing gum wrapper on the ground in the Hamptons. And I was embarrassed because you can't do that in Trinidad and Tobago.
Here's the thing.
You can't do it in Tobago, which is a tourist island.
And I say, but here's a little difference I find. I find Tobago still has more of that than Trinidad. Like, Tobagonians seem to have a little more of, this is we land, we island, we had to take care of it. There has more.
What I see for myself.
Mm-hmm.
What I see for myself.
Mm-hmm.
A mayor, I wouldn't call him mayor name. A mayor was in the airport in Tobago, and he was smoking a cigarette. And you know how smokers like to flick the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Airport authorities officer in the airport pull him up, tell him, excuse me, we don't do that here. I see that for myself. And I say,
Listen.
in my mind, I'm saying, I wonder if he know that he's a mayor in Trinidad.
Listen.
I asked him.
I wouldn't doubt you know. I wouldn't doubt you know. Listen, Tobagonians positive, you could tell me I'm wrong if you want. I feel Tobagonians live for the opportunity to tell a Trini, we don't do that here, you know.
Yes.
There's not Trinidad in it. They live for that opportunity. They wait when they see a Trini on the road, they're like, make the mistake. Make the mistake. I have those words in my back pocket ready to drop it on you.
Oh my brother, I cannot be here on this platform and hear these types of statements and not adamantly interject.
Yeah, but that is true. That is true. I think some of that is where we're lacking. And as you were talking about their positive, teaching people those things, I think, would help them. We need people to, you know how you see sometimes in some of those videos, a police officer pull over someone and that person is quoting the law for the police officer. Yeah, we need some people, not necessarily to be arrogant with it, but to have it in their mind, to have these things in their mind, a culture of paying more attention to how the country runs. I agree with that.
Yeah, because, and I think he probably know my page by now because I often ask him questions like these. Why the police service is not transferring you out and having you in the public communications department?
He have answered.
Take a look at the videos. That would be my response. But I'm saying, but why go?
My answer to that would be simply because they don't want people to know. They don't want educated people, you know. You must look up the history of school, you know, of the school system.
We regularly talk about
They
that.
don't want to educate you. The school is designed to brainwash you and make you a field of workers.
Yes, it is. Pretty much, yes. That's pretty much exactly what it's there for.
Let me take it a step further, right? So I'm a part of a community council.
Mm-hmm.
I am the youngest member on the executive of the team. While we were planning our calendar for the year, I recommended to the team, I said, guys, we need to do some educational series. Let's see if we can have a lawyer to deal with laws, making wills, land ownership. Let's see if we could bring in somebody as well to cover road traffic accidents. Let's begin to dig into the laws a little bit because I'm of the view Tobagonians don't like to use the law. We are afraid of the court. We are afraid to use lawyers. We prefer to use other means. And I could tell you for a fact, all these ideas will shut down immediately.
We like people in ignorance. We love people in ignorance. They're easier to control in ignorance. See, people like Nathan, police would hate them. You know the question that was asked you? You know the question when it was asked you when we bounce him up? He's a lawyer. You say he's a lawyer. Anytime you intelligent enough to challenge them and ask them a question that they can't answer, the rebuttal is automatically, you went to law school. You understand?
I agree to some extent. But I think if the police educate the public more, I think that would actually be easier on the police themselves too.
Correct.
But
It'll make their job easier if people know.
yeah, I agree.
But question, do we know how police are educated? That's the next question. Because let me be real, it's a large number of laws. It's a number of different legal things. But traffic officers are supposed to be versed in traffic laws. You understand what I'm thinking?
That's a good question you asked there.
Supposed to be.
Because let me tell you this. I spend a lot of time watching U.S. police interactions from auditors and whatnot. And the one constant thing that I have noticed with that is that the U.S. police don't know or respect their own constitution. They don't know the laws. You understand? So I would suspect, similarly, Trinidad police isn't aware of the laws itself, much less to teach you.
Here's the reality, and this is why I got into some of those arguments with some of the officers in some of the previous lives, where the officers talk about if we have a problem with how things run, we need to get the laws changed. And the argument I was showing them is that police do not work on laws. Police don't enforce laws. Police enforce orders. When you see a police doing something in a given day, they're following an order. They didn't look in the law book and see on our constitution, I should drive to X location and do a static patrol. No, they're following orders. And I think the vast majority of police in Trinidad and Tobago are much more order followers than law followers. And if the order and the law conflicts, they wouldn't even know, much less care.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what you know, is who you know, Darlan Rice says. Well, regularly said in Trinidad. That's very regularly said in these parts. Joe says, I don't feel that will be so. Some persons are just hell-bent on disobeying the law, whether they know or not. I agree. I'm not saying that if people know the law, they would start obeying it. I am a firm believer that knowledge doesn't change things. Like, when people talk about crime, as it were, crime is a problem of education. If you educate people, there will be no crime. That's a lie. There are educated criminals out there. That's not true. However, I was saying that I think more people having a clear understanding of the Constitution would make the job easier for the police in general. Not that there wouldn't be any crime, not that there wouldn't be any criminality, but it would generally make the job easier for police.
But I have found, I also think layman analysis of criminals, of the petty criminals, a lot of them have poor education, which I suspect is the cause of the decision making. So this is why I say education would help with a lot of those petty criminals and the decisions that they make.
Here's a reality of how Trinidad runs. Just now, I saw that positive just now. A reality of how Trinidad runs in terms of education and criminality. If I enter first year and my parents didn't send me to preschool because they didn't care too much, I enter first year, I start the C class. All through primary school, I was in the C class, the D class down at the bottom there. In that class, who would be my peer group? Other people down at the bottom there. In the peer group of the people who have parents who pay the least attention to them in school. Who do you think would be in that peer group? Well, you just paired up all of the least educated people with the least behaved people also. And then at SEA, when all of them write SEA together, you place all of them again in schools together, where there's more lax disciplinary standards in those schools. There's a more lax academic standard in those schools, and you put all of them there together. We have a system that streamlines in socializing all of the less educated people together with all of the less disciplined people. So it's kind of obvious that is the result we're going to get. If you have to make a gang, out of boys from 16 and up, you could go into certain schools in Trinidad, and you know the schools you can go into, and just select from that school.
I remember when I was in Form 5.
Listen, I want to add next.
Yeah, positive. What's your saying there?
Very positive.
I was saying to come next to into the mix. But a year or two ago, I was beginning to do some research and some reading. And when I looked into the laws, if a police officer decides he wants to charge you or arrest you for something, basically, there are so many laws that he can't do it. Because ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Yeah.
But when you listen to how the laws are structured, if you're not getting charged for obscene language, you're getting charged for annoying language. If you're getting charged for annoying language, you're getting charged for disrupting the peace. So it's like, and this is what I'm thinking, the right-thinking members of the population, or the law-abiding members of the population, we would like some kind of opportunity to gradually have some of these videos out, because if they're on YouTube, they're on TikTok, they're on the police social media pages and platforms, they're pushing it through the youth groups. We'll have an idea as, okay, generally thinking where they are, what they are. But if an officer really decides, yeah, what's going on, you're going down the road today, all you have to do is watch you too hard, and then from the time you start to speak, he has 6 charges or 8 charges that he can immediately use against you. and you can't tell the judge, I don't know.
You're right.
You gotta remember where these laws came from.
Correct.
These laws came from the desire to put black people in jail so that they could use the now prisoners as slaves.
I might not say that necessarily. I'll say these laws came from the desire to totally control your colony. You had to have total control of your colony. If you are a colonizer, what happened in Haiti is your fever dream. That's your nightmare. That's the thing that keeps you up at night. So you're always trying to do everything in your power to structure the laws of your colonies as such that it stifles any possibility that your colony could get out of your control. So nearly all of the laws in Trinidad and Tobago, when you read them, they're subjective. Those offensive language laws are subjective. You ask any officer and they would agree with you, positive radiation. If they're being honest, they would agree with you that any officer bounces you up. If they really want to, they can find something to charge you. But on the flip side of that, because of the nature of our system, even though an officer could charge you for anything for something at any given time, basically, also, if you have enough money, you could basically get away from any charge also, because of the nature of how our legal system works. So it works on the two sides against the people who have the least resources. Now, I was seeing Lotus saying if I want all the schools to be equal. By no means. Someone was asking what's my solution for that schooling problem. I actually want more of the vice versa. I want more streamlining of schools. I don't think that every child should get a place after SEA. I think if you have not graduated from the schoolwork of primary school, then they should not put you into secondary school. I also think that we need to separate indiscipline from slower learners. A slow learner is not the same thing as an indisciplined child. So there are some children who shouldn't be in the junior sec or the slower learning schools or the trade schools. They should be in a military school. They're supposed to have soldiers behind them, because their problem is not that they're slow at learning. Listen, I teach. Most of my teaching is private. You encounter some people like that sometimes. The parent think that they're not learning and this person's slow, and then you talk to them and you recognize this youth is bright. He is too bright. And that's the problem. So I think we need to separate those things. So what's my solution? I would say even more streamlining. Have more streamlining, not less. All the schools aren't the same because all the children aren't the same. You have the specific trade schools, you have post-primary. I think post-primary was a beautiful thing for those of us who could remember that. If you keep failing at that SEA secondary entrance exam, then you don't leave primary. You go to post-primary. You do a course there. You can get a diploma that says what you have learned, and that diploma at that time could have carried you and given you a job. You could get a starting job in certain places with that. So they know, okay, this person, we already decide we're not going to force this person through 5 years of secondary school and torture them as the dummy in the class. 5 years of secondary school to prove they're the dummy in the class. Let them do basic proficiency, maths and English, and then fail all of that, and at the end of Form 5 tell them, okay, well, we've proven you're a dummy and wasted 5 years of your life. No. We allow them to do the post-primary. We find out what you learn, and you can enter the work field as an apprentice. That makes way more sense. You see, the idea of putting children through that 5 years of torture if they're unable to do it, that's just destroying their confidence. And then when you put some of those children into a group with children who are struggling to keep up, not that they can't keep up, they're just struggling. They're clawing at it, they're right there. And then you put them in a group with a child who is totally lost, and he's embarrassed about being totally lost. So what is he going to do? Obviously, he's going to be disruptive. I cannot climb to the top of the hierarchy of education. That's never going to happen. So here's what. I'm going to be the baddest fella out there. I'm going to be the funniest fella out there. I have to make my claim to notoriety somehow. People have to know me somehow. So they're going to do that. And then you're going to have disruptive children in a class with struggling children. So now the disruptive children, they aren't going to make it. The struggling children who may have struggled through and made it, they're also not going to make it. That doesn't make sense to me. So I think more division.
In Form 5, there was a guy sitting next to me in Form 5. You know, I reach Form 5, so I'm thinking at least and I was not the brightest guy in Form 5, but I think everybody was at least to my level. And there's a guy sitting next to me, and we were tasked to do something, some exam or something. So, and this guy I recognize could not read. I'm talking BAT. I'm talking CAT. Could not read, and I was baffled. How you reach Form 5? You either was sent up the chain or bluff. He didn't bluff away because in Form 5 he wasn't bluffing. He let us know he can't read. And so what I'm saying that to say to enforce what you just said, there are people who reaching the levels, the different levels, and not ready for it.
Correct. Bro,
They're not ready.
in university, there are some people who cannot effectively read. It's not that they can't recognize the words, but so like Lotus comment there, they're reading that, so you want all the schools to be equal. That will never, in university.
You ever listen to Wade Mark? You're a minister sitting down in Parliament.
And here's the thing. As I said when I was talking about the police, I don't insult people on their educational level or ability, but there is something to be said. It's like if you need to be able to read through a mechanical engineering book to pass mechanical engineering, and you are in mechanical engineering unable to read, I am not insulting your intelligence. I'm just saying there was a failure somewhere along the line. Somewhere you slipped through when you really were not supposed to slip through. And what usually happens there, the problem with that is not that you don't want people to get an education or you're trying to keep people out of it, but you see it time and time again. You frustrate people because you put them into an environment where they are unable to keep up. They're unable to keep up. And even if you get them through the entire thing and somehow you get them graduated and they're unable to keep up, you put them in the field to actually do the work. And how are they going to do it? Denicia John says, my mechanic can't read but very good at his trade. I know many people that can't read and are very good at their trade. Reading isn't proof of intelligence.
My air conditioner and refrigeration guy can't read. There's another guy who is somebody else can't read, but he is a boss trade man, right? I'm not calling any people who can't read, I'm just saying two things. One, in the case of Alexander, if you're not so good on reading, you ain't supposed to be the representative of the police service. You ain't supposed to be there on a TV screen. You understand? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, positive. Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with another police officer by the name of Pitt.
No, not familiar.
Also a PR person for the police. Very articulate, very bright, could answer a question directly.
Very, very calm. Inspector Pint is very, very calm, very, very relaxed.
Yeah. That is the guy. Much better candidate to run that program.
Well, hopefully you could get him.
Wait, but Nathan, you said something there. You said you're a teacher, and as a teacher, I'm sure you would have this experience soon, because my ex-wife is a teacher and my ex-girlfriend is a teacher as well too.
Yeah, but
being related, being involved with so much teachers, there's one thing I've heard in common. When they come home, they speak to you about the children, the students, and after they're talking to you over a thing, you would be familiar with the students just as much as they are. So there came a time when I would ask, hey, how's so going on? How's so going? And the funny thing about teachers, I have gotten to realize teachers are the windows to the future. I'll explain what I mean by that. every single one of these children that they used to talk about, problem children that is, every single one of them in jail, dead, is a killer, is a gang leader in a gang, every single one of them. Teachers are able to see this from primary school. They can tell you who's going to be end up in problems.
Yep. Very true.
But teachers,
a gang leader can't be stupid. You can't be a stupid gang leader out here. Let me be real.
no,
You can't be a stupid gang leader. You have to have some form of brain.
on the contrary, they are drones. They are followers.
But I want to throw something fresh into the mix. What are your guys' perspective on having, let's say, 4 military schools in the country? Military run secondary schools, live in camp, like full-out military academies. So you could probably have one in Tobago, one in Central, one in South.
We have that.
But the operate is totally different. But the operate totally different. I think that is a 2-year program, if I remember correctly. CCC is about a 1 year and a half. But what I'm saying is a full-on military school, meaning like a normal CXC 5-year school. However, you're living on the actual military compound with them. You have PT in the mornings. You have military instructors in some cases. A full-on military school. And we could probably do a military university as well. So you could come to a military school and probably go on to the military university. And me as a civilian could probably say, you know what, I want to apply and go into a military university because of the structure, the system, or the way they operate.
With the problem with that is, that will not serve the indisciplined youths that we have.
How so?
That will only serve the youths that have the discipline to stay in that.
Oh, well, that's exactly the problem there. And that's where I think Milat has a bit of that, where Milat has some authority behind it. So you could get placed in there. And I think here's something that I've always wondered. The disciplinary structure of a school by and large, and about teaching there, I no longer teach in any public school. All of my teaching is done privately. So I don't teach in any school right now. But I have taught before. And the disciplinary structure generally of schools is the child behave bad, a certain level, you write a letter to their parents. All right. Further than that, you call in the parents. All right. Further than that, you suspend the child. There's 3 days, there's 1 week, maximum 2 weeks. All right. Further than that, then you expel the child. But then what? To me, I think that system right there, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think that system, you need to go through it quickly because I think some children take too long to reach to the expel point. But I don't think you expel a child to just go home and line. You expel them with a requirement that they go to the military school.
Mandatory, no.
That's how I think that should work.
Is a jail, but not jail.
Exactly. And Milat has some of that, Milat has some of that. There are some students in Milat that are required on court order to go there too. And I think that's kind of what you need. You need some, and it could sound more oppressive than it is. Bear in mind, that's kind of already the law in Trinidad. If you don't send your child to school in Trinidad, you're breaking the law. So the law, you'll just, as it will, enforce the law that you must send your child to school. It's just now they can no longer go to the regular public school. You must send them to school, and this is the school you must send them to now. Yeah, positive.
Or maybe this is what I'm saying.
School.
But this is what I'm saying. So you're setting up a full-on military secondary school, and this is what I mean. So you have your first form, second form, third form, fifth form. It's like the normal schooling system. However, because there are persons in the military with masters and diplomas and could teach and very good individuals. Just that now, you're adding a military level of discipline, you're adding your PT in the morning. So the child now could say, but you know, if I was really going to school normal, nobody would not wake me at 5 o'clock to go and run up St. Helena Hill to come back down to get ready for school. So I'm saying implementing a system is the normal, same academic system, same structure. Just that you have your military requirements. So you know you need to be up by X time. You need to get your PET in. You need, and you're adding the nutrition with it as well too. So instead of sending them just to YTC to be incarcerated, you're full on secondary operations.
Instead of YTC, you go there.
Yes, full on military. Watch me, you don't have access to your phones. You have to visit. So I don't want to use the term jail or prisons because it created a stigma, but a full on military academy. And as parents, if your child given a problem, and what I'm saying is, as a parent, if your child given problem, you don't have to wait for the court to order your child to the military academy. Teachers and parents should have the ability to make references, and as a parent, you should have the ability to say, what, my son passed SCA, but you see the way he behaving, and I'm telling him, to no normal school system for them boy to corrupt him. I'm telling you in the military school, and allow the opportunity for them to sign up and have the military school functioning. But your teachers and instructions are trained military personnel.
Now, what you're saying there sounds like a fantastic idea. Let me tell you what the problem with that is going to be now. You are talking about an institution now that needs an exorbitant amount of funding. How the government go thief the money if they had to spend it on something worthwhile? How the politicians go thief the money if they had to spend it on something
that's the thing. If it is that they have to stay there, I think that would be a little different. That will be a little different.
Logistics.
Now, I understand why you're saying that, but if I were to try and brainstorm something like that to make it more realistic for me, as how I would think it, I would think that you could have levels to this, where not all the students have to stay on campus, but you're required to be on time. If you cannot be on time, like if you, it's just as I said, there are progressions to this. So okay, you are indisciplined in keeping the time to the military school. Now you must stay on campus for a week. And okay, then you have the right behavior, you are let off campus then for that week. So you have some flex on that, because to just have a military academy where you have 1,000+ students being wards of the state, basically, listen, that's going to cost a lot. And then if you have it open for parents to just sign their children up to it, you are going to get people attempting to just abuse that. And then what you might end up having is a waiting list on your military school. The military school that is supposed to be rectifying the issue of delinquent children has a waiting list.
Where's our waiting list?
So it's
and then now you have to consider now there's a different cost to the state where salaries for teachers, for cooks,
One thing we are using military personnel who have already trained and already been paid a military salary. So instead of reporting to the base for 5 o'clock in the morning,
let me explain what the problem with that is concerned, and I could speak to that as a former military person. The military in Trinidad and Tobago know how much people know. You understand? And when you you don't have Prime Minister, President, Minister Guards, all the different patrols, all the different things that the military has to do. And to further deplete that now, to take a whole staff now to man that school, it means you have to hire more people and take the older ones to put them in the school. It still requires a long-term salary for 20 years, but you have to pay pension at the end of that. You're still talking about an exorbitant amount of money.
You see, Nemesis, I think many people believe that all Trinidad and Tobago regiment personnel is nothing in it. Let me just go on the base and eat food.
Lie down and sleep and eat food, yeah.
Right.
I'm not accustomed to that.
But I know I have some friends inside. It does.
I don't see that way. From somebody who has a love for the military.
Yeah. I'm not saying you, but some people do. Yeah, some people don't know. A lot of them have a lot of the duties around politicians and protection and stuff. A lot of the drivers are military personnel. A lot of drivers. They're driving around the place, right? So they have jobs to do. And you're right. If you pull them out of the jobs they're doing now to do something else, you're going to have to replace them. So it's going to cost. It is going to cost. Anyway, people, it's 11, it's after 11. We're looking to bring it to a close. Are there any closing statements, further comments, or questions inside of the live?
Of course.
I think it's something we need to consider because initially it may take a while to set up. Because I'm thinking if you have an efficient agricultural system, on the way we have that school compound, the compound may be able to be self-sufficient. If we have the electrical, choose to those electrical, look into solar and renewable energy, that may also become an asset, but the startup cost is going to be exorbitant, and I can agree with that. Because the culinary students may be able to feed their own colleagues. By the time they leave with a skill, they leave up being able to manage. I am being hopeful. My name is Positive Radiations. I have to think and radiate positivity.
I like that. I like that.
Fantastic suggestions. However, when they speak to our MPs about it, it falls on deaf ears. But they are fantastic suggestions.
All right, people. As per usual, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been brought to you by the Mindful Education, which is the educational institution that I run. If you're looking for us, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, Mindful with 2 L's. You can message me. We offer learning pods, that's homeschool style classes, small classrooms, small groups with their tutors. They get familiar with each other. They get really comfortable. They get accustomed asking questions. There isn't that embarrassment factor. The learning is sped up. It's much more comfortable. It encourages that curiosity inside of the learning. So if you're interested in that, we have them from preschool, lower primary, upper primary, lower secondary, upper secondary. We offer those. We also offer private tuition for most CXC and CAPE subjects. That's one-on-one tuition, specialized, personalized attention if you want that for most CAPE and CXC subjects. Hit us up if you are interested. Other than that, I will see you guys again for the next Mindful Live session, which is going to be tomorrow, Friday, the last one for the week. Around that 9:30 p.m. time, we're on for Mindful Live every weeknight around 9:30 p.m. Tune in if you like this conversation. I do enjoy it. I really do. I hope you guys were educated, informed, or entertained. That's all I have for tonight. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace. Hold it down. Turn up this music a little bit.
What's the name of the guy again?
Lyrical King.
Alright, let me go look for him now.
Yeah.